Midweek Analysis.
Hey guys, this is the midweek analysis for April 21st of 2021. Okay, we'll start off with the Euro USD pair. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So since this price action right here is very strong short, and there's still a little bit of down move left in this move, in the long term, we are short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. However, in the medium term, because of the breakout of this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here, right on this candle, in the medium term, we are long biased right back up to this pivot high right here. However, because there was a weak short trade that formed in this area, in the short term, we are short biased right down to this pivot low right here. Okay, so to sum that up, in the long term, we are short biased right down to this pivot level here. But in the medium term, we are long biased right up to this pivot high here. And in the short term, we are short biased right back down to this pivot right here. Okay, let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Here's the setup we've been looking at for the last couple months. So we had a strong short trade right here. Then a week long trade formed here. So as price pulled back, we were short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. And then the same thing happened again right here. A week long trade formed. So as price pulled back, we were again short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. And now the same thing is happening. Another week long trade formed. So we're letting price pull back as much as possible so we could take another short right back down to this pivot low right here. Alright, and if you're having a hard time understanding what I'm talking about in terms of strong short trades and week long trades, please watch lessons 1 through 4 on my price action trading course, and that should clear things up for you. Alright, so in terms of midweek price, if you recall, a possible entry level that we were talking about for this short trade was this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. And at this point, price is beginning to test this downward trend line. Now at this point, if we could get compact price action on this weekly trend line level on the weekly, daily, 4-hour or 1-hour charts, then possibly that may be an entry right back down to our short-term target right down here. So getting this compact price action on this trend line on the lower time frames is a possible entry setup for this trade. However, there are other possibilities. So let me explain that to you. Okay, on this daily chart, the last short trade that formed was right here. And this short trade possibly already hit its target right down here. So there is a possibility that price can pull up right back up just to stop out the traders that enter short at this level. However, since we're trading on a weekly time frame, as long as price does not reach this level, these deep pullbacks are actually a great thing because it creates more distance right down to our target, right down here. So as long as we get a strong daily short trade between current price levels and these levels up here, we could still enter the short trade right back down to this target even without that compact price action we were talking about. So if we're going to take this short trade without the compact price action, we need a daily short trade to form, and it can't be on the lower time frames. Now let me explain to you why. So let me take you to the 4-hour chart. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, the past couple of days, there were a couple of short trades that formed right here. However, these short trades are not entries for me simply for the reason that there is a huge gap on this 4-hour chart. So let me just show you that. Zoom all the way out and scroll all the way back. Okay, so that huge gap is right here, from here to here. And current price is right here. So what typically happens on these types of huge gaps is if you get entries on this time frame, price often just wiggles around a lot, as so. And although price eventually goes down along with that short entry, a lot of times price just jumps up and stops it out before it goes down. Okay, so if we're going to enter that short trade without the compact price action, it has to be on a time frame above the 4-hour chart. Okay, so let me take you back to the daily chart. All right, so for the reasons mentioned earlier, we want one or two things to happen in order to target our short-term target right down here. One is for price to start respecting that weekly trend line with compact price action. And in this case, it could be on the daily 4-hour or 1-hour chart. And the other option is to get a strong short trade between current price and this pivot high right here. However, just recall that this short trade must be on a time frame above the 4-hour chart. Okay, so let's go on to the Usdjpy pair. Okay, this is a monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So ultimately, in the long term, we were short biased right back down to this pivot low right here. But before that, we were talking about the pullback to 107, then to 109, and then down to this 101 target. So in the long term, we are still short biased right back down to this pivot low. However, for the time being, since we're waiting for this long momentum to slow down first, in the medium term, we are neutral biased. Okay, let's talk midweek price. Okay, this is a weekly chart. Now, the first signs of waning momentum long we were talking about is to have 2 weekly red candles to form. This is due to the fact that the sole reason we were long biased for the last month right up to 109 was because a strong long trade formed on the weekly chart. So since this momentum long is coming from a weekly long trade, we also want some slowing down on the weekly chart. And these 2 red candles symbolizes that first step. Alright, so some other things we want to start looking for in terms of waning long momentum is on the monthly chart. So let me take you over there. Alright, so on this monthly chart, try drawing this trend line from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now this breakout last month of this trend line, I'm sure many are viewing as a long breakout of this downward trend line. Thus many will view a retest of this trend line that was broken out to be another sign of long momentum. So if we're short bias, what we want to see, let me just get rid of this real quick. Okay, we want to see mainly on the monthly chart for price to break back into this trend line, causing a failure of a retest. Now mainly we want to see this on the monthly chart, but we also want to see this on the weekly and daily charts also. And so for the time being, let's see if the weekly and the daily charts could actually close below this monthly trend line level. Alright, one last thing I want to add is that if you're already short this currency pair, an obvious level for profit taking will be this gap right here. So this gap level right here and here. And price is right on it right now. So price is likely to have a little bit of trouble getting through this gap level. Thus, if you're already short this currency pair, this gap level is a good place to take some profits. Alright, so let's go on to the Audnzd pair. Okay, this is the monthly chart. We'll start off with an overview. So there was a normal double bottom right here against a weak downward trend line right here from this pivot to this pivot. So in the long term, we were long biased right up to this trend line level right here and possibly the second target right here. However, at the current moment, since we're waiting to see if any strong long trades can form that could perhaps get us through this trend line right up to our second target will form, in the medium term, we are neutral biased. Alright, let's talk midweek price. Alright, this is a daily chart. So if you recall, the first attempt to try to get through that downward trend line level was right here, and that failed. And then we had a second attempt right here, and we didn't know if this will fail. However, I was mentioning that if price even touches this level right here, which is actually the stop loss level for that second attempt, price has the possibility to fall right back down to this pivot and possibly even down to this pivot down here. Alright, and yesterday, price did touch that price level we were talking about. Now at this point, the first thing to mention is that if you're long this trade already, this is a great place to take some profits because there is a possibility that price could fall right back down to these pivot lows right here. Okay, so at this point, we want to be looking at the weekly chart. So let me take you over there. Alright, the last long entry on this weekly chart was right here. And because that daily pivot low was touched, there is a possibility that price will break down all the way down to this stop loss level for this last weekly long trade. So what we want to be looking at this point in order to target our long-term second target way up here is for a strong weekly long trade to form. Now this strong long trade must be on the weekly chart for the main reason that there is a possibility that price is going to pull all the way down to this pivot is because this last weekly long trade has possibly already hit its target right here. And when trades typically hit their targets, price normally pulls right back down to that stop loss level to stomp out the weak players that are still in that long trade. Okay, so that will be the first possibility. Again, we need a weekly strong long trade to form. Now the other option is as follows. Try drawing these trend lines from this pivot to this pivot, another one from this pivot to this pivot, and finally this pivot to this pivot right here. Now if we could get compact price action on one of these weekly trend line levels, now this could be on the daily 4-hour or 1-hour chart. Now if that could happen, that is another option for entry long right up to our long-term second target. Okay, so for the time being, let's just wait to see if that type of price action sets up. Now for the time being, there are a couple more things I do want to add. So let me just get rid of these. Now since the long-term trend is still long, although there is some pressure down right down to this level at this point, if you are going to take short trades, it will be wise to have small targets for the simple reason that the overarching trend is still long biased. And some possible levels that you could take those small targets are the trend lines I mentioned earlier. So it's all these levels right here. Okay, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, guys. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.